Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Motorhead Garage is presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now, I know we've got a lot of gearheads out there in the audience. Well, guess what? We've got the ultimate gearheads here. Nicole, you're with Liberty's Gears. You guys have been doing this as a family business for a long, long time. Tell me how your grandfather started the business way back when, in the 60s.
So my grandfather, Joe Liberty, he was a tool and die maker for Cadillac Motor Company. Was having trouble shifting his Ford top loader. So he decided to cut off a few synchros, like X amount around the ring, and then started having issues with the synchros being ripped off. So he decided to make a pro ring, which actually is now our logo. And then it's kind of progressed from there, to our face plating, to our clutchless transmission.
You drive this Outlaw 632 car, incredible speeds at the 8th mile. What's it like having confidence knowing that the gears are going to hold up to that kind of abuse?
Oh, it's amazing. Going out there, the trans is the absolute least of my worries. I mean, I just put the manual shifter in the car for this last race for us, and the fact that I can go out there and make those little mistakes as you're going through the learning curve of it and know that the trans is still going to hold up to pretty much anything I can do to it is awesome. I have the confidence to go out there and take a new setup to a race.
And how about the adjustability? Maybe you get to the race, weather changes, track conditions are different than you wanted, so now you got to change gears. And the adjustability of Liberty's gears, of one of your transmissions, is out of this world. What's that like?
Yes, we have an enormous amount of ratio options. You may not even be able to tell between the two ratio options that fall on the chart because they're so close together. So it's great. We can make little pin hair changes and tune to the absolute best of our capabilities.
We can look inside the gearbox here, Craig, and see why it's so adjustable. Show me how.
This is what we have is an NHRA Pro Stock style transmission. It happens to be the transmission that we run also in our Outlaw 632 car. The gears in this transmission, because of how strong the trans is with the dual countershaft, we're able to come up with so many different tooth profiles that the ratio chart is almost overwhelming. In fact, it probably is overwhelming for most of my customers. If you look at it, there's literally tens of thousands of ratio combinations that you can come up with. For an NHRA Pro Stock car, that's great for me because they want all of them, so we get to sell a lot of gears. For most people, they just tell me what they want. We pick a gear somewhere on the ratio chart that's going to work well for them and send them a transmission. A lot of my customers don't really utilize it, but the people that do just absolutely couldn't live without the adjustability that we can give them.
And let's talk about the transmission next to you there.
Next transmission here, the red one, this is our extreme style transmission. This is more for our mountain motor Pro Stock, bigger torque stuff, power adder cars, still a clutch because of the input shaft. That's what the input shafts here are designed for, a clutch. The tooth profiles are very limited, so the ratio chart for this is a lot more manageable. You look at it, you don't get an instant headache by looking at it because it's not so overwhelming. But there are a few people that want, I guess, more adjustability out of this. So they start looking at this transmission because it'll give it to you. It's a balancing act. This transmission is designed around absolute lightweight, as light as we can build a transmission. We get a complete dual countershaft transmission for under 100 pounds, 96 pounds complete with shifter and everything.
Amazing.
For what that trans handles. That is actually amazing. This transmission, though, is because of the tooth profiles we limit it to. This transmission will handle up to 4,000 horsepower. And so if you think about that out of a manual transmission, clutchless manual transmission, it's actually amazing what it'll handle, the abuse.
Pretty incredible. And then if you're running a torque converter?
If you run a torque converter, this has a female input shaft, so it's more purpose-built for a torque converter, slightly longer case, so we put a center bearing support on the clusters. Partially the reason for that center bearing support, when you start getting 3,000 plus horsepower in this trans, we do see these clusters start to bow out and flex a little. Not extremely concerned about it, but since this trans was designed more for 4,000 and plus horsepower, we decided we would put center bearing supports and the female input. This is our T-style transmission. The T stands for torque converter.
in a nutshell, why does Liberty's gears stand above the others that are out there?
This strength is one of the biggest things. This transmission, if you use it for what it's designed for, if you want to use, say, a Pro Stock transmission in a Pro Mod car, well, then you might be asking for trouble. But if you're going to use my Pro Mod transmission in a Pro Mod car, you very, very seldom have any issues with it.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Go to libertiesgears.com if you're into winning and that sort of thing. We're going to gear up for another segment when we come back to Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Keep it right here.